Have you ever wondered how genetic traits are passed down in families? Well, the answer lies in something called a pedigree. A pedigree, if you're curious, is a diagrammatic representation of a family's genetic history. It's kind of like a family tree, but with added information about genetic traits. Now, in these pedigrees, you'll find different shapes representing different things. Squares, for instance, represent males, while circles represent females. Shaded shapes are used to denote individuals expressing the trait of interest. If you see a half-shaded shape, that's a carrier of a trait. Sometimes you might come across a pedigree where unaffected parents have an affected child. This is an example of autosomal recessive inheritance. In such cases, if both parents are carriers, there's a 1 in 4 chance of having an affected child. On the other hand, when at least one affected parent has an affected child, this depicts an autosomal dominant inheritance. Here, if one parent is affected, the likelihood of having an affected child goes up to 50%. You might also come across a term called consanguinity. This refers to the mating of related individuals, and it appears as a loop between the related individuals in a pedigree. A horizontal line between two shapes represents a marriage or mating between two individuals. Identifying carriers in a pedigree is possible by looking for those half-shaded shapes mentioned earlier. Then there are X-linked recessive traits, which follow X-linked recessive inheritance. In such cases, males are more likely to express the trait because they have only one X chromosome. Two other important concepts in pedigree analysis are genetic anticipation and variable expressivity. Genetic anticipation refers to a phenomenon where the severity of a genetic disorder increases or appears at an earlier age in successive generations. Variable expressivity, on the other hand, refers to the range of symptoms or severity of a trait that can be observed among individuals with the same genotype. To determine whether a trait is autosomal or X-linked in a pedigree, patterns of inheritance across generations need to be analyzed. Autosomal traits typically affect males and females equally, while X-linked traits may skip generations and affect predominantly males. The purpose of pedigree analysis in clinical genetics is to assess the likelihood of genetic disorders in individuals and families, aid in diagnosis, and provide genetic counseling. However, it can be complicated by factors like incomplete penetrance, which occurs when individuals with a particular genotype do not express the associated phenotype. This can lead to the absence of affected individuals in a lineage. So there you have it, a brief but comprehensive overview of pedigree analysis. A fascinating tool that helps us understand how traits are passed down through generations. A tool that's vital in clinical genetics for assessing the likelihood of genetic disorders and providing genetic counseling. And a tool that, despite its complexities, continues to shed light on our genetic histories. See you next time.